But he recorded it, and it was the only song that Dad ever had any part of, whether singing, writing, or whatever, that was #1 on the hit parade. So, this is another very tender song. I mean, really. I've got a gal, she's mighty sweet. She's got the big blue eyes and those tiny feet. Hey, this is a love song. And her name is Rosabelle McGee. Tips that scale at 303 OG. But ain't grand to have a gal so big and fat, but when you go to hug her, you don't know where you're at. Gotta take a piece of chalk in your hand, chalk away your mark, and see where you began one day. I was a hugging and a chalking and begging her to be my bride. When I met another fella with some chalk in his hand, coming around the other side over that mountain, I'm coming around the other side. Now everybody says that I'm not weak, my bones don't ache and my joints don't creak. But every time I just go limp, every time I see my baby limp, ooh gee. But ain't grand to have a gal's big and fat, but when you go to hug her, you don't know where you're at. Gotta take a piece of chalk in your hand, chalk away your mark, and see where you began one day. I was a hugging and a chalking and a begging her to be my bride. When I met another fellow with some chalk in his hand, coming around the other side, over that mountain, over, way over, over. I say way over that great divide. Nothing like good love song. You know, Dad was a deep type of guy. You can see the lyrics they wrote, but he sure loved that hot jazz, you know. He got a job one night, or one season, at the Columbia Club, and you know, they want all that, you know, sticky up, you know, type fancy music, you know. So his orchestra, they pretty soon, so he couldn't stand it, you know. He go, okay, boys, come on, let's go. And he'd play some hot jazz. You see, manager come over, oh, can't do that, you can't do that. So they go back, and the time after would happen again, and you can't do that, Ho. But he'd go, come on, boys, let's play. Well, they walked up to him one day and they said, you're fired. And they just had a piano. That piano that he played on was down there at the Columbia Club, and it was up in the attic because it was beat up. You know, it had been around since the 20s. And this wonderful couple, the Browns, John Brown and his wife, they put up the money and they had that thing completely rebuilt. And I did a show on that piano a couple of nights ago, and You know, it was quite nice to sit there and play a piano that you got fired on. But they didn't know, I mean, he was just a band leader in those days, you know, they didn't know what was going to happen in a while, so he was allowed back, by the way. He did come back and play again with the Columbia Club. But during that time, that's what he wanted. He wanted hot jazz, you know, and go out with the boys and have a good time. He had a girlfriend, and hey, honey, listen, I got this job. I got this job in Richmond. I got to go do this job in Richmond. I'll be back in 10 days. And so he'd go there and they'd do the job, and someone from Cincinnati would go, damn, you guys are good. We need you over in Cincinnati. Can you start right away? Yeah, we can. So they'd be over there in Cincinnati playing, you know, a couple of weeks or something like that. And he'd come home about 4 weeks later. She'd go, all right, where were you? You know, just like you got there. We come home and, you know, we're waiting. Honey, I was out playing the jam, you know, making some money. Well, okay. Well, this went on and on and on, you know, and he'd go up to Chicago and he'd do 2 weeks and he'd end up there about 3 months, you know, and he'd come home and she got married to his good friend Bud Dan. Bam! She was gone, you know, and Dad was out of the picture. But hot jazz was it. But he loved this girl, and he had a melody that he was messing around with. You know, but God, all that mushy stuff, you know. I don't want to get into that. Well, he kept working on it. Finally, in 1927, he recorded a song over in Richmond. The Star Piano Company. In 1929, they kind of reworked it again. And the lyrics were written to it. Dad wrote most of the lyrics, but Mitchell Parrish came along and wrote the words to the verse. And I think it goes something like that. And now the purple dusk of twilight time steals across the meadows of my heart. High up in the sky, a little star climbs, always reminding me that we're apart. Leaving me the song that will not die. Love is now the stardust of yesterday. The music of the years gone by. Sometimes I wonder why I spend the lonely nights dreaming of a song. That melody haunts my memory, and I am once again with you. When our love was new, each kiss an inspiration. Oh, but that was long ago. Now my consolation is in the stardust of a song beside a garden wall. The stars are bright. You are in my arms. That nightingale sings his fairy tale of paradise where roses bloom. but it will remain my stardust melody, a memory of love's refrain.